The Toys to Life games like Disney Infinity and Skylanders have been mega hits, so it's no surprise that LEGO Dimensions is jumping in. Let's check out the new kid on the block.
Blocks. I see what you did there.
Oh, well punned, sir.
LEGO Dimensions works much like the other Toys to Life games, in that you put the figures down on the portal and they appear in the game. However, the twist here is that they're made of real LEGO and you get to build them first.
Obviously, I could build Batman in my sleep, but I have to say, building the whole portal thing was a little complicated. Luckily, before I got too frustrated, the game itself walks you through the building steps one by one. Genius.
Yeah, it's really satisfying when you have everything built. I was super proud of my little LEGO gang, and to be clear, what you get with the base game is the portal and 3 figures: Wildstyle, Gandalf, and Batman.
Don't forget the Batmobile, Hex. Batman never leaves home without it. It's probably worth pointing out that the computer chip the game is detecting for your characters is in the little blue disc, rather than the LEGO itself.
Wouldn't it be amazing if the game could somehow use a camera to scan exactly which LEGO blocks you've built into the game? But I suppose that technology is a few years away yet.
Yeah, that would be pretty amazing. But we should explain how all these heroes from different dimensions end up together.
Affirmative. The dastardly Lord Vortek has devised a plan to control the LEGO multiverse by gathering the ancient foundational elements. These elements are based on powerful objects like kryptonite or Dorothy's ruby slippers. And they were originally scattered across the dimensions. But because Lord Vortek is now stealing them and recruiting villains to help him, it's causing the LEGO dimensions to collide.
Thanks, Darren. And while that may all sound pretty complicated, really it's just an excuse to mash all of our favourite characters together, which they've done a really great job of.
We shall be the Fellowship of the... Fellowship of the That's a terrible name.
Yeah, the cutscenes are amazing, aren't they? The LEGO games have always been quite humorous, but having all these iconic characters mushed together, it just takes that comedy to a whole new level.
Because of the wonderful things he does.
The Scarecrow. I knew it. This is all a hallucination.
I think he's going crazy.
While the cast is a lot more varied, the gameplay will feel familiar to LEGO veterans. Most problems are still solved by smashing things into bricks so you can build the device you need. Although handily, objects that contain building blocks are now highlighted with white flashes.
Yeah, that's a handy addition. I remember getting so frustrated having to smash everything in the earlier games. The other familiar gameplay device is each character having specific abilities. Wildstyle is the most nimble, so she can jump into areas that others can't, while Gandalf can use his magic to move blocks around.
Don't forget Bats. His trusty Batarangs and Bat Grapple solved many a puzzle for the team. One thing the game does, which is quite new, is involve the portal base in the puzzles themselves. If Wildstyle is scanning objects in the game, you'll need to move her to different positions on the portal as they light up pink.
As you progress further into the game, moving characters onto specific spots on the portal is used more and more. You may need to move them off a section to avoid a boss's attack, or cover your figure in paint, then place them on specific sections to solve puzzles.
Some parts even have you fighting bosses by teleporting them around via little portals, depending on the colour you've placed them on. It's all very cleverly done.
Although you'll want to keep that portal within reach, otherwise you'll be getting up off the couch every minute or two.
Alarm! Alarm! Alarm!
What is it, Darren? Did Bajo eat all your cheese sandwiches again?
Negative. My expense alarm was triggered because this is one of the most expensive games ever released.
Yes, good point, Darren. If you want this game, you might have to help your grown-ups out by cracking open that piggy bank because the base package costs a wallet-busting $170.
$170.
It does come with a lot of real Lego, so that's important to remember, but even so, pricing it at nearly double the cost of a normal game, I mean, that's going to be a big barrier for some people.
Yeah, absolutely, and it is such a shame because this is a great game. In fact, I think it might be my favourite LEGO game ever.
Big call, Bajo, but yeah, it does improve on all of the Lego basics. Plus the humour and the references are just so brilliant. But then the last half dozen LEGO games have been pretty much as good as this as well.
Plus, with those games, you can play their extensive character roster at no extra charge. Whereas with this, it's going to cost you over $1,000 if you want to play all the characters like Homer Simpson, Portal Shell, and the rest. So, as good as this game is, and it is a really good game, its poor value means I just can't give it more than 3 out of 5 rubber chickens.
I agree, I would have loved to have scored this higher, but it's 3 from me as well.
LEGO City Undercover takes us into a big open world.
I'll get straight to the point. Rex Fury has escaped and is at large in Lego City.
What?
Looking for someone?
LEGO City has fallen under a crime wave and it's suspected that the evil Rex Fury is behind it all. You play police officer Chase McCain. He's got a troubled past and was sent away from LEGO City after a case went wrong, but he's back to prove to everyone just what kind of an undercover cop he can be.
And to do that, he'll have to chase down a lot of criminals.
Stop in the name of the law!
You won't get away with this.
Taking the LEGO formula and applying it to an open world is a big step for the LEGO series. We've seen the likes of Batman 2 and LEGO Lord of the Rings open up the world a bit, but this truly is a large environment that you can explore at your leisure. Whether that's taking in the sights or searching for those elusive mega blocks.
Ah yes, you can spend quite a bit of time in this game exploring and searching for studs. In fact, I often got distracted from my main objective, just collecting things.
Yeah, LEGO games really are a completist gamer's worst nightmare.
Or dream come true.
That's true. Even though this is in the open world, it's still a very LEGO game. You'll be switching costumes to solve simple puzzles, and the game does quite a good job of unlocking these as you go to keep things fresh and interesting.
Although almost every area has something you can't access at all. So if you really want to know what's behind a door or object in the ground, you have to go back and replay the mission once you get the right suit. I mean, this retracing steps mechanic is starting to really drive me crazy, Barjo.
Yeah, at least you're not forced to replay any levels, and it does add replayability. At least the LEGOing is a bit more diverse this time around as well, thanks to the Wii U gamepad. It's your map as you drive around town. It's also how some of the characters talk to you. And I liked how the voices come through on the gamepad like it's your communicator, but if you turn that volume down, it comes through on the TV. I thought that was quite clever.
You can also use the touchscreen to scan the area for criminals, blocks, and even listen in on conversations.
Yeah, this is actually my favourite gamepad feature. There's something about just moving it around that really adds to the gameplay, I thought.
I bet Barjo didn't like that.
I did not like that, Hex. I didn't like it because I had to get out of my chair sometimes. If you start scanning in the wrong spot, I do not want to get out of my chair when I'm gaming. The other thing that bugged me a bit was the footprint scanning. I love the smooth jazz that plays as you search for footprints, but quite often it would lead to something I'd already tried to investigate.
I'm with you on this one, Barjo. The smooth jazz is excellent, and I now play it whenever I drive my car. But you're correct. A good detective should only scan when they've exhausted all other options.
It's illogical.
Oh, it's
impractical.
ridiculous.
It's logical. Doesn't make
breaks
sense.
the illusion.
Yeah,
it breaks.
All right, you two. I think you're overthinking things a little bit. I mean, these are really good uses for the gamepad. And even though at first the driving controls feel a little bit weird and unresponsive, you soon get the hang of it and it becomes quite enjoyable zipping about the big city, finding new cars to commandeer. And I liked how you can call for cars to stop rather than just stealing them.
Police business.
I enjoyed popping the knobs, even though the cars don't actually go very fast. But I think that's either a limitation of the Wii U hardware or perhaps the developers not being experienced enough with coding for it yet.
Yeah, I was expecting it to look a bit prettier, Darren, and some of those loading times are pretty long. The payoff is much of what you do for the main story isn't actually in the open world. They're fully fleshed out LEGO environments, and that's great, such as in this prison.
At least it's better than solitary.
So the more I played of this game, the more I liked it, and I think that comes down mostly to the characters and the writing.
Yeah, this is a really good story, isn't it? And almost every line is a joke, and they're good jokes.
Natalia's testimony enabled us to arrest Rex. He tried getting away, but foolishly chose a lawnmower as his escape vehicle.
Pull the lawnmower over!
My favorite character is your sidekick, Frank Honey. He's loud and he's silly and he just messes everything up. I think he's my favourite video game character for the year, Hex, out of all the games I've played.
Dunby!
Honey? Waffles? What are we doing?
Even though this is strictly single-player only, many spawnlings will play these kinds of games with their parents or siblings taking turns, and the jokes and character parodies will be entertaining for older gamers too.
I also don't know why those guys are dancing together. And how did he get that saucepan on his head?
I did find the combat to be rather simple, however, even after you've learned Kung Fu.
Yes, it's time they stepped up the combat in LEGO games. I feel like I say this every time, you guys, but it's just too simple. Give us a challenge. But we're running out of time. What are your final thoughts, Hex?
Well, like you, Barjo, I think I was expecting a lot more from this game, but what is here is very good. There's variety, hilarious dialogue, and if you can forgive the odd awkward mechanic and the odd bug, you'll have plenty to do in LEGO City. I'm giving it 8, you guys. It's greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah, and I think that's true for all great open world games. The small things that bug you are completely made up for by all of the other stuff you can do in the world. And it's also a brand new LEGO story and brand new LEGO characters, so I think that's quite an achievement. I'm going to give it 7.5 out of 10 rubber chickens. Okay guys, Gandalf and the gang need our help and those LEGO bricks aren't gonna build themselves. This is LEGO The Hobbit.
Dragon!
Dragon!
What surprised me most about this LEGO spin on The Hobbit is just how much they've packed into it. For a start, it's covering the events of the first 2 films, so there's a big cast of characters and locations to get through.
Yeah, and those movies are not short either.
Yeah, and there's the whole world of Middle-earth to explore, which is obviously massive. But before we get too carried away, we should get you spawnlings up to speed with the story of The Hobbit. Darren, would you do the honours?
Affirmative. The main character, Bilbo Baggins, is a quiet little hobbit who's just minding his own business at home when the wizard Gandalf and a group of dwarves invite themselves around to dinner. And before you know it, they've convinced him to embark on an adventure to the Misty Mountain.
Ah, Misty Mountain. That's where the dwarves used to live before the nasty dragon Smaug kicked them out. But with Bilbo's help, the dwarves are off to reclaim it.
I signed it.
Welcome, Master Baggins, to the company of Thorin Oakenshield.
I loved seeing so many of my favourite moments from the books and films recreated here, like the 3 trolls.
Can we cook him?
And the majestic elven city of Rivendell.
Gandalf. Lord Elrond. Strange for orcs to come so close to our borders. Something or someone has drawn them near.
Oh, and that great bit where Bilbo uses his magic ring to turn invisible and fight giant spiders, so cool.
Oh. And as usual with the LEGO games, you can expect a sillier slapstick version of what the film was. I found myself chuckling the whole way through, Hex. But we should talk about the gameplay.
Affirmative. The basic LEGO structure remains the same in this game. Bilbo and the group will break apart many blocks to build them into useful new tools. But this time around, they've added quite a few dwarf-specific features.
Yes, those dwarfs do work together pretty well. You can hop them up onto each other's shoulders to make dwarf ladders, and you'll need to grab a friend pretty regularly for these tag team attacks.
Yes, and like us, the dwarves are obviously big fans of Minecraft because they like to do a lot of mining and crafting. You'll find many spots where you can use a pickaxe to mine precious gems and metals from the ground. Then you can craft them together to build handy tools.
And I liked that they have included a little mini-game where you receive extra riches for timing the pickaxe swing just right. So many gems!
Oh, and while we're talking about crafting, I was glad to see they've kept those cool sped-up block building sections from the LEGO Movie game. You have to quickly pick the right blocks before the time runs out, which is always fun.
Generally, I had fun with all of the block building, but there were some moments that felt particularly forced, such as when Bilbo meets Gollum.
Voiceless, it cries.
That's such an important moment in the story, where there's all these riddles that need to be answered, but instead of just saying the answers, Bilbo has to run around building them out of blocks.
It's wind. Of course it is.
That was just silly.
I didn't mind that, but I know what you mean. The game does often feel like it's relying on overcomplicated solutions just to keep you busy. Like this bit where you need to get onto a high cave ledge. I mean, what would your first thought be on how to get up there?
Use some of the rope they have in their backpacks?
Maybe make a dwarf ladder?
Both sensible suggestions, and that should work, but no. You need to throw food at this dwarf so that he gets tired and has a nap, and then you can use his belly like a trampoline. What?
I have a complaint that may seem a little odd, but I think there are too many dwarves. There's like 13 of them or something.
13 dwarves? That's easy. There's Dory, Nori, and Ori.
Yeah, okay, Darren, okay.
There's Biffa, Bofa, and Bomba.
Yeah, it's okay, Darren. It's not about remembering their names, though. You have to remember their unique skills. I kept coming to spots where I needed to do something like dig, and then I'd have to go back through them all. Was it this brown-haired, bearded guy that had the shovel, or this one, or this one, or this one? Oh!
You're right, it can get a bit confusing at times, but I think it's a pretty small frustration to have given how much content this game gives you. I mean, there's literally dozens and dozens of characters.
Yeah, that's a fair point, and I did have a lot of fun with it. Being able to call on the giant eagles to fly you around the world was especially cool.
Yeah, and don't forget those battle scenes. You get to fight orcs and trolls amidst those epic conflicts, and it's such a great looking game.
I agree. One of the criticisms we always have with the LEGO games, though, is that they tend to feel a bit samey, and this one did for me too. I still had a lot of fun, so I'm giving it 7.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I think I had a bit more fun going there and back again with The Hobbit, so I'm giving it 8.5.
Thank you, Goose! Now it's time to spin jitsu our way through LEGO Ninjago Shadow of Ronin.
The Dark Samurai Ronin is planning something sinister. He's stolen our heroes' memories. It's your job to help retrieve those memories and their obsidian weapons and save the day.
Yes, and like most LEGO games, there are a few playable characters, each with their own special skills. Along with the Whirlwind Spinjitzu Tornado, each of the 4 main ninjas has a different elemental power.
That's right. Kai can shoot fire, Jay can send out lightning strikes, Cole conjures boulders from the earth. It's all pretty nifty.
Oh, best of all, their leader is a robot! Zane commands the element of ice and is the only character who can swim, making him most useful.
Darren, Zane isn't their leader. If anything, Sensei Wu is.
These are the students you told me about?
Yeah, Zane is just a regular ninja.
Don't be silly. As a robot, his superior skills and chassis would make him the only logical choice for a leader, like with the 3 of us.
Darren, I think you'll find that we don't have a leader. We're an equal team working together.
Yeah, we're a team.
Let's discuss this later.
Right, okay. Well, speaking of teamwork, you'll need to use problem solving and a lot of teamwork to get through these puzzles. I need to pull that platform, but I need someone with a grappling hook. Nailed it. Hex, I thought this game felt impressively fleshed out for a handheld title.
Yeah, it does. It felt very similar to some of the bigger LEGO games we get on console.
Affirmative. While the actual maps aren't as expansive and the levels are rather short, the similarities make it feel like a rather complete experience.
Yeah, and there's still lots of little achievements and collectibles to go back and try for, which extends the game's length. The combat leaves a little bit to be desired, though. Using your Spinjitzu is essentially an automatic win against enemy grunts, and a small number of boss fights are only mildly challenging.
There's one thing I found really disappointing, you guys, and that's when you obtain the supposedly super powerful obsidian weapons, it makes no discernible difference to your power in battle.
Yeah, I thought I'd get to learn a new move or something, but no, it's just the same.
Disappointing.
Aside from the combat, though, there's also some flying, driving, and platforming sections, and these mix up the gameplay nicely. I found the platforming pretty floaty though.
Yeah, me too. Sometimes it takes a few goes just for simple jumps. Seems a bit silly.
Overall though, I think the game rocks along at a pretty good pace. Areas are varied, puzzles are snappy, and overall the difficulty is quite low, so it never felt tedious or too repetitive.
This game sticks pretty closely to that tried and tested LEGO formula, which is great. It's a great formula. It works well. But guys, I'm just starting to get a bit tired of it. It's starting to feel all the same to me.
I disagree. I think this game has enough variety and pace to keep it really fun. One thing I didn't like though was the dialogue. Oh. The humor in the LEGO games have always been a bit slapstick in a charming way. But this was just sarcastic and a little bit mean.
Worry not, young Jay. You have been in far more dangerous locations than this.
Okay, well, I'll just draw some comfort from those memories, shall I? Oh, that's right. I don't have them anymore.
It's time for some scores, you two.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm going to give this 2.5 out of 5 stars.
I think I enjoyed it a little bit more than you. I'm giving it 3 out of 5.
Now, I shall depart like a ninja in the darkest night. I've got a Darren report to file.
Okay.
Off I go. You'll never see me. Stealthy.
So stealthy, Darren.
Where could I be? Am I over here?
I can see you. You're over there.
Wherever could I be?
It wasn't very stealthy at all.
Master of disguise.